Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's making news right now. As cities across the province discuss involuntary treatment, a Windsor mom shares her take after losing her son to fentanyl. Plus, this woman once wondered how the homeless ended up that way, and now she is in their shoes and wants to share her story. And hopping aboard a Navy vessel, it's docked on the Detroit River, inviting folks to visit. But first, several residents in West Windsor woke up this morning to a shock. The windows of their vehicles smashed. Residents estimate more than a dozen vehicles were damaged. Police are investigating the rash of vandalism, which residents say is unusual. Dale Molnar spoke with some of the victims and has more.
The rear window is smashed out completely. There's glass all in the car.
Catherine Ellis lives in the 200 block of Campbell Avenue. She woke this morning to find the front passenger window damaged on her car, along with the rear passenger window smashed and items rifled through in the front seat. The car was parked in the rear of the home.
I think it's terrible. There has been an increase in petty crime around here lately, but this is beyond.
She says other than the vandalism, a small amount of change was stolen.
They tried to get through, break this window here, and they couldn't get through it, so they broke this one.
Across the street, the pickup belonging to Terry Jones was parked off the alley, and neighbors alerted her to the damage.
The neighborhood is a good neighborhood. I've never seen this before. And I've been here like 37 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you upset?
Yes, yes.
Broken glass all over the place here, shattered window, glass all inside the car. There's a little bit of blood alongside the side of the door here and on the inside of the seat. Pretty extensive.
Across the alley on McEwen, Owen Silverthorne woke up to this mess.
So I woke up out of a dead sleep at about 5 a.m. Didn't think much of it, but car alarms were blaring off. I went back to sleep, and when my roommate got up for work at about 5:40, he informed me that our cars had been broken into. It came as quite a surprise, and when I saw the damage, I was pretty outraged, to be honest.
It appears the vandal or vandals cut themselves and tracked blood from that scene. There was also what appeared to be blood on Catherine Ellis's vehicle. She says her son was out checking the neighborhood and says up to 16 vehicles were hit, some possibly on Partington Avenue too. CBC was able to find 5 in the 200 block area of Campbell. It's now going to be an ordeal for the victims to get their vehicles fixed, and Ellis believes insurance won't cover it due to the deductible.
What do you think of the people that did this?
Scoundrels.
Victims have either reported the crime to police or plan to. CBC News has reached out to police, but we haven't received a response. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
An update now on the death of a Windsor senior we told you about earlier this week. An arrest has been made in the death of 69-year-old Reginald John Fricke. Windsor police say a 25-year-old man has been charged with first-degree murder and break-and-enter. Fricke was found dead in his home not far from Jackson Park on October 25th. According to police, Fricke and the accused knew one another. At the latest count, there were at least 700 households in Windsor-Essex experiencing homelessness. But it's not often we hear from people about how they got there. For Heather Jeffrey, it was a year ago this month when she started living on the streets of Windsor. She shared her story with our Amy Dodge.
I was out of work due to health issues, and from January to May, my addiction definitely spiraled out of control. There was some domestic problems in the relationship I was in, and that ultimately led me to being homeless.
Prior to that, did you ever think you'd be on the streets?
You know what? I actually am ashamed to say that most of the people I've met on the streets I would have never talked to. So, no, not at all.
And at that time, when you saw people who were homeless, what was your initial thought?
My initial thought was go out and get a job. Like, why aren't you working? You look like you can work. I think one thing I realized in the last year, battling with my addiction, is that the struggle of mental health and mental illness is real. I wouldn't have ever stopped and said hello to these people, and I'm ashamed of that. Me and my friend, which has been a lifesaver in my life on the streets, me and my friend go into a store and we're automatically followed. You know, I worked my whole life. I worked 35 years of my life. I've never cheated a thing in my life. It could be your brother, it could be your sister. Could be your daughter, son, and you know what? One day it could be you.
What do you need to keep you sober and clean and on the pathway back to having a home?
I need hope, you know? I said this week, every time I turn, a wall is there. Government people, bank people, landlords, so many different things in one day a wall looks like. What I'm gonna eat.
I want you to introduce us to James, if James wants to come in.
This is James Bradbury, the gentleman that saved my life. He didn't know me, found me in a park, deep in my addiction, carried me to his mother's house.
She looked like she needed a friend, and she looked like she was struggling, and so that's my main thing to do is I like helping people. And, you know,
How much do you identify with being homeless and on the streets and sort of that feeling of hopelessness?
sometimes I feel like things are never going to change, and you know, I believe in God, and I believe in help, and one day things will get better.
Are you ready for winter?
Absolutely not. You can ask James here. I've cried for the last, week? I'm scared to death, to be honest with you. I'm scared to death. You know, I've utilized different shelters here. I was at one shelter in our city. First night there, someone told me they were going to murder me on the staircase. I will not return to shelters. I'm scared to death of them. Winter looks like scary, eh? It's very scary. Looks like, ask him, I have 4 coats. It looks like cold nights sometimes. But it also looks like something else to me. That spring's gonna come soon. And that I keep on walking forward. But I won't lie, I'm scared. I'm scared this year. I'm not feeling well. I'm scared.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for a quick weather update. Colette, how's it looking out there?
Well, we know it was kind of a reset today, right? Back to normal, back to seasonal conditions at this time of year. 11 degrees is a normal high, a normal low is 3. We were at 9 this morning, but then that temperature just barely changed a couple degrees, and that's about it throughout the day. So really close to that seasonal mark. Obviously not looking at records, although we've had some in the last few days, and just kind of showing you that temperature progression as we move through the day and how there was very little change there. We know those winds have continued to blow out of the west, northwest, and those have also made it feel even cooler. We will get some improvement with the winds, and I'll have your weekend forecast coming right ahead, Katerina.
Thanks for that, Colette. We'll check back in with you later in the program.
Sounds good.
Putting people with mental health or addictions issues into treatment without their permission is an idea that some politicians think could help the ongoing homelessness and drug crises. Windsor's mayor is one of them. This week, I spoke with Christy Soulier. She lives in Windsor. Her 27-year-old son, Austin Tremblay, died from an opioid overdose about 2 years ago. Here's some of our conversation and what she thinks about forcing people into treatment.
At points, you know, you and I were talking and you said you would have liked to have seen him get treatment, but I guess he wasn't ready at those points. Can you tell me a bit about what that was like?
For an addict that's in active addiction, I truly believe they have to hit their bottom. As a mom, of course, I encouraged him all the time and I asked him to get treatment. When he wasn't willing, all I did was support him. And my famous saying was, just keep making the next right choice and good things will happen. You know, and you have to just love them till they get to the place of wanting it for themselves.
How difficult was that for you as a parent?
As a parent watching it, it's excruciating. You know, as parents, we want the best for our children. You know, there was times when Austin was homeless because of his addiction, and I'd be up all hours of the night just crying, but knowing I couldn't force him to do something he wasn't ready to do.
What are kind of your biggest concerns with something like involuntary treatment?
My biggest concern would be who makes the decision regarding who gets committed. And it has to be done in a way, like I said, with compassion. It scares me to think that police are just going downtown or wherever and picking up somebody that's living on the street and forcing them to go into a treatment center. I do believe that there could be success with people with mental health issues, but like I said, there's a whole process. You would have to do your psychiatric evaluation. But if it's just plain addiction, unfortunately, we have to wait for them to hit their bottom. forcing somebody to get sober when they're not ready is just, it's not going to work.
Sources have told CBC News that the federal government is about to announce a high-speed rail line. The service will connect Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec. But what about the Windsor to Toronto corridor? Dale Molnar looks at the likelihood and what extending the line would mean for our area.
A high-speed rail service from Windsor to Toronto has been promised in the past, most recently by the Kathleen Wynne government, but that died when Doug Ford took office. Now, with sources telling CBC News a new high-speed rail service will be announced shortly for Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec City, local officials are hopeful it won't be long before that is extended down here to Windsor. Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island CEO Gordon Orr believes it would increase tourism here.
Because what it would do is we'd be able to get people here quicker, and accessibility to a region is very important, whether it's air, road, or rail. And at this point in time, when you can shorten the distance and the time by at least half to get them here that much quicker, then hopefully the frequency will be more, and of course it'll be faster to get here.
Chris McLeod, the chair of the Downtown Windsor BIA, also believes it would be good for business.
And I think that sometimes people look at Windsor as being too far away, right? We're too far away from the GTA. And so I think anything that makes us more connected to other parts of the province is positive for our area.
Chamber of Commerce President Tony Haddad is optimistic about the news.
The latest discussion around service between Quebec City and Toronto makes sense for a start. Certainly also allows an opportunity in the future for a future phase to extend further westerly to London and to Windsor ultimately, and obviously to then access the U.S. market through Michigan and to Chicago.
Extending a link with Chicago has also been bandied about, and Michigan woman Sue Miller would likely use it to get to Toronto.
It's been a while, but I think if I could get there faster, I would probably go more often.
Urella Andrews from London, England, uses high-speed rail in the UK.
The thing is, in Britain, we're not such a car culture. We rely a lot more on public transport than you guys do here. So do you think, I don't know, I guess high-speed trains would maybe cut down on people driving their cars, perhaps?
Former Transport Minister Omar Al-Gabra said in 2021 that the Toronto to Windsor corridor would be the next step in high-frequency service, meaning more trains traveling the route. So far, a high-speed train is not in the cards for Windsor. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Big ships are a fact of life on the Detroit River, but rarely does the public get a glimpse on board. That's exactly what's on offer by a Navy vessel docked on the riverfront by Dieppe Gardens. The HMCS Harry DeWolf is inviting you to take a tour. And we sent out Jacob Barker to meet with members of the crew and give us a sneak peek.
You might have noticed this big ship that's parked on the Windsor waterfront right now. It is the HMCS Harry DeWolf. I'm here with Sub-Lieutenant Jun Choi. He works on this boat and he's going to give me a tour. It's something that you can do as well this week. Why is it red down here?
So it's red. It's essentially like tactical lighting. When our bridge team goes up to the bridge, essentially it helps their eyes adjust better to the darkness. So this is our navigational system. We call it ECPENs, and these are two of our navigational radars. So they're both on standby. Everything's been powered down just because we're alongside. Normally they'd be flashed up, they'd be running. Here we have the beautiful city of Windsor, and as you can see across the water there, we have Detroit.
So what's your main purpose then on the boat?
Yep, so I'm a naval warfare officer. I'm one of the bridge watchkeepers on board HMCS Harry DeWolf. So my job is to execute an aspect of leadership called charge on board a Royal Canadian ship. Essentially, I run the ship's program and I drive the ship's tracks that are inputted by the navigating officer. It's a unique job. It's one heck of a career path, that's for sure.
I'm Sailor Second Class Blanchard. I am a cook on board Harry DeWolf. Been here for the past few years.
Cool. Where are you from?
Originally, I grew up in Amherstburg, then moved to Windsor in high school. Yeah.
What kind of things are on the menu?
Today, we did tacos. Breakfast is always the same. We always have bacon, sausage, hash browns, eggs any style. And for supper tonight, we're actually ordering in Windsor pizza. So,
would it be possible to see the kitchen, or are you allowed to?
Yeah, I can do that. So where are we? We're in the galley right here. Definitely one of the nicest galleys in the fleet. All my fridges in the back, my dry storage right there. Compared to the other ships, you have to either go down or up to get all your stuff. Here, everything's on the same deck, and it's also very spacious. You don't kind of have this kind of space anywhere else in the Navy. I'm a reservist, especially for anybody in high school, like I joined through the co-op program. If you're not too sure what you want to do, but you want to explore your opportunities, the Navy is a great way to explore those opportunities, especially if you want to get some good experience paid for, and you don't have to come in with any prior experience, at least for most trades. So if you want to just go in, learn, get paid for it, Navy's a great way to go, and hopefully you can see it as a career.
Public tours began today, and tomorrow is your last chance to get on board. The ship opens to the public at 10 a.m. and then tours wrap at 5. And we asked and you delivered. We put out a call for pets dressed up for Halloween, and we got so many great entries. Here's your dose of adorable for the day. Those were so good. Thank you so much for sending them in. And if those don't fill you with warm and fuzzies, I mean, I don't know what will. Take a look outside there. The sun is setting earlier and earlier into the evening. My goodness, ahead of the time change coming up this weekend. When we come back, the latest on the U.S. election with voting just days away. Stay with us. Welcome back. With the U.S. presidential election just days away, Georgia is one of the most watched battleground states. Both candidates have made several appearances there during their campaigns. 4 years ago, Joe Biden became the first Democrat candidate to win the state since 1992. John Northcott takes a look at the situation there now.
We know, in fact, that almost half the eligible electorate have already gone ahead and cast their votes in early voting. A big part of the population here, some 30% or more, self-identify as black, and that's an important demographic for whoever wins the presidency. Traditionally, Savannah itself has gone Democratic. Still, though, there are those in the black community who are looking for Trump, especially when it comes to his policies on economics. We talked to one woman who's working hard to bring out the black female vote about those supporters who are turning to Trump.
If I said I understood that, I would be lying. I really would be lying. But I really think that they believe that in the past he has helped their businesses, he has helped them to make more money. But for me, yes, do I want to make money with my business? Yes. But my family, I want somebody that's going to look out for my family as well.
Also talked to a woman here on the streets about who she supported, Kamala Harris. She said, however, she also said she wondered, she worries whether or not Americans are ready for a female black president. Here's what she had to say.
I don't think that people are ready. I don't think the U.S. is ready for a woman president.
Today's the last day for early voting, and then it's the last bit of campaigning and the big day on Tuesday. Results could be final on the day of. It could take a lot longer. That is one of the many big question marks heading into this election. On the streets of Savannah, John Northcott, CBC News, Georgia.
You're looking at some Windsor window washers hard at work this morning in our city. Definitely a job that's very weather dependent. And speaking of weather, meteorologist Colin Kennedy will be here after the break, and she'll have a full weather forecast, including how things are shaping up for the weekend. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy joins us now for a deeper look at weather. Colette, yesterday, even though it was really, really windy, we still lucked out with those temperatures for Halloween. But then today, that November bite, it really, really kicked in.
Yeah, it was totally back to reality, but it's one of those things where it almost never, even if we get a bump in temperatures, it almost never holds through Halloween, right? So
yeah, we did luck out.
This was the year, 2024, right? Okay, yeah, it was windy though. Let's go ahead and show you what's going on with those current temperatures and what we're experiencing. Still some double digits, a couple of Windsor and Chatham-Kent areas, and a few other areas where those temperatures are sliding off. It's 6 degrees right now. This is encouraging though, is that the winds, now these are the sustained winds, not the gusts, but even those gusts have been dropping back somewhat, and we're certainly seeing the sustained winds easing. So through the overnight, those will keep reducing, and then tomorrow the winds aren't much of a factor. There's not much in play as we're going into the weekend. Now, we have had some of the cloud cover and some of the showers that you're seeing on the radar here coming off of Lake Huron. Those are associated with the lake. It's the lake effect showers that we're getting as that cooler air is riding over what we refer to as still the relatively warmer waters of those lakes. But as those winds die, that helps to improve those conditions as well. And then we get into an area, broad area of high pressure that's going to be moving in. And as that comes in over the Great Lakes, we get clearing. So for southwestern Ontario, this is still a bit of lake effect cloud here to begin the morning, but otherwise we are looking at a lot of sunshine, and you'll even see that dissipating as the winds ease and ease. So Saturday looks good. Sunday starts off well, but the clouds are going to start to increase, and so it'll be kind of variable skies, and then late in the day, some heavier cloud cover coming in. So in between, we should get some sunshine if this timing holds, but what is happening is that a warm front is going to be approaching. So late Sunday, I'm thinking really it's going to be overnight Sunday into Monday morning, where we start to see some showers developing along that frontal boundary and kind of moving through, and yes, will some of those linger into the early part of Monday, quite possibly, but we'll kind of be dealing for a few days with some cloud cover and some showers off and on, but milder temperatures are coming. Not tonight. Overnight tonight, we're falling down to a low of 3 degrees. You see those winds by tomorrow, light. Mostly sunny as we head into your Saturday. At least we get to those double digits. I mean, today, from the beginning of the day towards the end, that temperature was nearly steady or barely changing a degree or two. So up to 12 degrees for tomorrow. Saturday night, we fall to 4, so still a coolish start on Sunday after you set those clocks back before you go to bed Saturday night. And then Sunday's high 14. Here comes the warm front and the impact that will have, even with the overnight lows. But it looks like we could get into those low 20s again, at least for one day on Tuesday next week, Katerina.
I'm still shocked to see those temperatures that high. It's wild to me.
Into November. We are into November now. I know.
Yeah. I can't believe it. Thank you so much, Colette, as always. Have a fabulous weekend. Thanks to all of you for watching. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.